Have you had an orgasm?
Yes. Meh. I would so much rather do almost anything else with my time.
I know, hard to fathom, right? But imagine a world where sexual imaging does nothing for you. We're talking about what it means to walk a mile in the shoes of a young asexual. It's not celibacy or abstinence. It's not just having a dry spell or haven't found the right person yet. Asexuality is, as one expert told me,
someone who doesn't have a lustful connection to others.
Studies estimate that about 1% of the population is asexual. And you know what? That's not nothing. Now maybe you're thinking, I don't know any asexuals, and I can't really imagine a life that isn't at least in part driven by sex. Listen, I get you. So I met up with a couple young people living in New York City to figure out what it's like to be asexual in your 20s.
I identify as asexual, so that just means that I don't feel sexual attraction at all.
I think I identified that way for like 4 years, and then I wasn't sure for another 4. I realized, no, I'm really asexual.
I have experienced sexual attraction maybe like 2 or 3 times. They were like small half-hour moments or something like that.
Asexuality isn't a fixed definition. There's a whole spectrum that exists, and gray areas for different people.
I guess like I know that some people will just see random strangers on the street and like know that like they would want to have sex with that person, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Idris Elba, like coming out of the water, dripping wet. No, that does nothing.
But like, if you're dripping wet, does that make you more attractive?
Apparently.
I remember in high school, a lot of friends would like come into school and they'd be like, oh, I dreamt about making out with so-and-so. And I was like, is that like a regular thing that like happens to people?
So no sex, no sexual attraction or desire. It sounds kind of lonely, right? Nope. You see, many asexuals form fulfilling romantic relationships that just don't involve sex. Like Bauer and Levi, they're in love.
What I share with Levi, I don't share with anybody else. Like we sort of dated backwards. We shared emotional things. We got like really heavy into the feels really quickly, and we're not physically like involved.
Without the sex, asexual romantic relationships put the utmost premium on deep emotional intimacy.
You're willing to like talk about things that are maybe more personal for you that you wouldn't talk about with like friends or siblings or anyone else in your life.
I also don't understand how sex is intimate. Like, it's not something that I use as intimacy.
So it's not friendship because they're talking about a deeper emotional connection. And I get it. Sex is off the table. But what about touch? Isn't that something we all need?
I need snuggles or I'll die.
Oh my God.
It's relaxing.
I know the impulse when you hear about asexuality may be to think, oh, they're just going through a phase, or there's probably some sexual trauma there. Now, both Bauer and Levi told me they hear that a lot, and they see that as people trying to invalidate them. And here's how I've come to think about asexuality. If you think about how many variations we all have on the spectrum of sexuality, sex with one partner, multiple partners, sex with all genders, it's so individual. So doesn't it also make sense that for a small portion of the population, they just wouldn't want sex at all?
People often say like, oh, you just haven't found the right person yet, or whatever. But I mean, I have found the right person, and I'm so much more excited about being in a situation where I don't have to do anything I don't want to.